welcome and thank you for joining me. This is Pirate Drake, and today I want to talk about the Buffy and Angel soul canon. When talking about the soul canon here, what I'm actually referring to is how the vampire is created from the base person's soul. I know this has been discussed to death already, but in my searches, I haven't found a cohesive theory that provides an explanation from the beginning to the end of the show. Nothing that sat right with me anyways. So, after rewatching both series from beginning to end several times, yes, this is a very old theory, I think I finally have a theory that can apply to all vampires in the Buffyverse. Before I go on, I want to state that due to the nature of this video, there may be spoilers. I'll try to keep things spoiler-free if possible, but if you're in the middle of watching either show and you want nothing spoiled, then I suggest you turn back now. This is your last warning. Anyways, here's the theory. When a human dies, the vampire that is created is strongly influenced by how the soul is feeling at the time of death. In other words, it's as if the forces make a copy of the soul at the time of death to base the demon on. This excludes anything else that has happened before in this body. What does this mean? Well, death means the soul leaves the body. A vampire gets that human's memories, and as the soul leaves the body, my theory states that the demon basically makes a read-only copy of that body's soul. This greatly influences the personality, desires, and impulses of the demon that's created. I know that if this is true, there's a whole slew of other questions this could bring up, especially with the Angel versus Angelus debate. And I may make a follow-up video asking if Angel's gypsy curse is, well, actually justified. In the meantime, I actually have some decent proof for my theory, and here's what I've got. I want to start with Drusilla, as watching Juliet Landau's performance in Season 2 is really what got me thinking about this to begin with. We can see a glimpse of what Dru was like prior to death. She was part of a big family, probably the daughter to someone with money, has disturbing visions of what's to come, and still maintains her religion. That being said, we could probably infer that on the night she was killed, she was still a virgin, and completely oblivious to the nature of sex. So now let's go back a moment. Let's say that Angel and Darla did everything to Dru except kill and change her. Now, Dru would definitely be completely traumatized. She'd be completely confused on sex, violence, and pain, and probably considered insane by most. However, if Dru is strong enough, gets the right help, and is physically and psychologically able to overcome this trauma, she may get to live a somewhat normal life. Now, on the flip side of things, it actually did happen that Dru was driven mad psychologically, sexually, and emotionally, and that's when she was killed. As a vampire, Drusilla has said she loves Spike, but that could be part of her psychosis, as Spike admits to torturing her several times. Dru wants to hurt Angel like, quote-unquote, he hurt her. Even though Dru says she loves Spike, she has no problem getting into bed with Angel as well. In her mind, sex involves people who love each other going at it. Because she died when being introduced to sex, she doesn't understand, or more importantly, care that morally, certain loves may not be good to act upon. Loves like an abusive relationship. Next on my list, Spike. So let's think about this. On the night Spike died, he was ridiculed for his poetry. He was rejected by the woman he loves, which I have another theory that states Helfrich was Cecily because someone wished a vengeance demon on him. I'll get to that at some other point. Anyways, Liam died knowing love and heartache and still had a major emotional tie to his poetry. The demon that was created, I truly believe, does love Drusilla, and probably a lot more than Drusilla loves him. This imprint onto the demon kept the idea of romance and love, and the demon corrupted it. So that's why he is okay torturing out of love. Moving on, next on my list was originally Angel, but in order to talk about him and Darla, I need to actually bundle them together. Before I get to that, however, there are several others I want to get to. First, Jesse. Yes, going all the way to season 1, episode 1. When we're introduced to Jesse, he is someone who appears to follow the crowd and stick with his close group of friends. On the day of his death, the only reason he was talking to Darla to begin with is because Cordelia turned him down. He still wanted to be with Cordelia, but was settling on Darla. Now, after death, Jesse seems to want to turn Xander as well, him wanting to have the same friends in the same crowd he had when he was alive. He is still subservient to Luke, and kind of does what he wants to do to feel like he belongs. For example, going along with being bait and giving up Cordelia the very moment that Darla asked him to. So the next two I want to talk about for a moment are actually going to be Xander and Willow. Now, we only know Vamp Xander for a single episode, and Willow for 2, and their backstories never really seem to come up too much. A lot of what I'm going to say here, I admit, is part of a what-if scenario had the Slayer not come to Sunnydale, and yes, there are more theories I want to explore based on that. Damn it! Anyways, so, for the sake of the main theory, the Master rose during the harvest, took over Sunnydale. Because Darla bit Jesse on the way to the Master, it doesn't take much for the Master to completely drain him, and thus killing him. Willow, on the other hand, was brought to the Master in one piece. After killing Jesse, the Master may no longer need to feed, so he simply tortured and turned Willow into a vampire to help raise his own army. Willow, then new to vampirism, then sexually seduces Xander and turns him. That way the objects of her obsession can be with her for eternity. Now, at the time of death, it's no stretch of an imagination to say that she was abused and assaulted, thus making her very open and sexual as a vampire. And again, it's no stretch to say that Xander, after being seduced by Willow, learning his best friend is dead, and then dying himself, may be a bit obsessed with Willow and overall is very sullen yet sexual, as he appears in his one appearance. Finally, a couple of other smaller ones before I get to the biggie. First is going to be the geek vampire that was burned in Season 2, Episode 13, Surprise. Based on his dress, he's probably from the 40s or 50s, and may have been struck or killed in a library, researching how and why his neighbors are turning into bloodsuckers. In Season 1, Never Kill a Boy on the First Date, the Southerner who gets turned died fully believing his quote-unquote God, and that he is the chosen one. His quote, "Why does he hurt me?" springs to mind. Finally, the Anointed One died as a kid, a blank slate, if you will. He was told he has higher purpose, so other than having a single purpose that he obsesses with, he really is kind of useless. Okay, and with all that out of the way, let's talk about Angel and Darla. Darla was a sex worker and was proud of her work, it would seem. Angel was a layabout, ran away from home, and only did things for his own benefit, which is seemingly why Darla was attracted to Angel in the first place. At the time of death, both of them seemingly had nothing to live for, only did what would benefit them, and had no hope for anything better. Darla, because of being in her deathbed, and Angel with nowhere to go. These made great templates for the demons to copy. Someone who only does what benefits them, and now they have no remorse for what they're doing. Bliss. Well, for them anyways. The other thing that they have in common is a seeming desire to do right by their sire. Angel always looks for approval from Darla, and Darla feels the same way about the Master. And it was at this point I was going to talk about Angel Season 4, but I figure I'd be retreading the same spot if I did, so I'm gonna leave that out. Anyways, that's that. I love Buffy and Angel, and there's so much to speculate about. Joss Whedon has always used metaphor and symbolism, so even though I can practically recite both series, I can always find something new or come up with some new idea. I'm having a blast doing this, so I hope to continue with some regularity. If you actually watched this, first, wow, thank you so much. Second, if you have your own theories on the Buffyverse, or you just want to tell me how wrong I am, feel free to comment as well. Finally, if you want to see the next video, feel free to like and subscribe and all that stuff that YouTubers actually say. Thanks again, and peace.